First Contact's Price. The crystalline towers of Meridia Station hung suspended in the violet nebula like dewdrops in a cosmic spider's web. Within the central observatory, First Observer Zira watched the stellar streams with growing dread. Her iridescent scales shifted from their usual calm blue to a worried purple as she studied the long-range sensor readings. "They're following the same pattern," she whispered, her three-fingered hand trembling as she manipulated the holographic display. "Just like the Centauri cluster, just like the Marin system. The Void Hunters were coming." For 3 cycles, the Zeridani civilization had tracked the mysterious force moving through their sector of space. At first, they thought it was merely another nomadic species, one of the many that traversed the star lanes. But then the reports started coming in. Whole systems going dark. Colonies vanishing without a trace. Communication buoys found shattered, their quantum cores extracted with surgical precision. First Observer, her assistant Kren's voice carried the harmonic undertones of severe distress. "The Council requests your presence. They've received another report." Zyra's heart sank. She didn't need to ask what kind of report. The Void Hunters never left survivors, only evidence. Evidence that seemed deliberately left behind, like a predator marking its territory. The council chamber was a marvel of Zeridani architecture, its walls embedded with living crystals that pulsed with the collective thoughts and emotions of her people. Today, they throbbed with fear. The 7 members of the High Council sat in their traditional arc, their scales collectively shifted to the deep purple of grave concern. "The Nixus colony," High Councilor Venn announced without preamble. 2 million souls. Gone. Zyra's scales rippled with shock. Nixus was barely 30 light-years from Meridia Station. The Void Hunters had never struck so close to a major population center before. "Show me," she commanded, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. The holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. Nixus had been a typical Zeridani colony, its crystalline habitat stretching across the asteroid belt they had called home. The footage showed the colony as it had been just days ago, its structures gleaming with life and purpose. Then the recording continued. They came from the outer dark, ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with an organic grace that belied their massive size, sliding through space like predatory fish through ancient waters. The Void Hunters' vessels made no attempt at stealth or subterfuge. They simply appeared, surrounded the colony, and began their work. The council chamber fell silent as they watched the methodical destruction. The Hunters' weapons didn't simply destroy. They deconstructed. Matter itself seemed to unravel under their assault, structures and ships breaking down into their component atoms. Most horrifying were the collection vessels that followed, gathering the atomized remains of an entire civilization like cosmic vacuum cleaners. "They're not just killing," Councilor Tress observed, her scales nearly black with horror. "They're harvesting. The analysis of previous attack sites suggests they're collecting specific elements," Zyra reported, bringing up her latest findings, particularly those common in advanced technology. Quantum processors, crystalline matrices, neural networks, and organic material, Venn added grimly. "They're not just taking our technology. They're taking us." The implications hung heavy in the chamber. The Zeridani had achieved spaceflight 3 generations ago, focusing their advancement on peaceful exploration, scientific discovery, and artistic expression. Their defensive capabilities were limited to automated asteroid deflection systems and a small fleet of research vessels equipped with minimal shielding. "We've tracked their trajectory," Zyra continued, expanding the star map, "based on their current course and speed." She paused, her scales shifting to the pale gray of resignation. "They'll reach Meridia Prime in less than 60 cycles. Meridia Prime, the Zeridani homeworld. 8 billion souls. "We've already begun evacuation procedures," Venn announced, "but our transportation capacity is limited. Even with every ship we possess, we can save less than 5% of the population." "There must be someone who can help," Counselor Tress insisted. The galaxy is vast. Surely there are other civilizations, other powers that could. We've sent distress calls on all frequencies, Kren reported. The few responses we've received have been unhelpful. Most advised immediate surrender, though the Void Hunters have never shown interest in negotiations. Others simply wished us luck and cut communication. Zira moved to the center of the chamber, her scales shifting to the deep red of determination. There is one option we haven't tried. She brought up schematics for a device that had been theoretical until now. The deep signal. The Council's collective scales rippled with alarm. The deep signal was the most ambitious project in Zeradani history, a quantum beacon designed to pierce the very fabric of space-time. It could theoretically broadcast a distress call across thousands of light-years instantly, reaching parts of the galaxy they had never explored. The energy requirements alone would drain half our planetary reserves, Counselor Venn protested. And we have no way of knowing who might receive it, or what they might do with the information. We're already facing extinction, Zyra countered. What do we have to lose? The debate lasted less than an hour. In the end, desperation won out over caution. For the next 3 days, the finest minds on Meridia Station worked to prepare the deep signal. They encoded everything: their history, their culture, their scientific achievements, and most importantly, proof of the Void Hunters' approach. The message itself was elegant in its simplicity. We are the Zeradani. We face extinction. Please help us. When they activated the deep signal, it drew enough power to dim the lights across half the station. The quantum pulse rippled through subspace in ways their scientists had only theorized possible. Then they waited, watching as the Void Hunters grew ever closer in their sensors. What they didn't know, what no one in their sector of space knew, was that their signal had reached the one civilization in the galaxy that had deliberately hidden itself away. A species that had spent centuries preparing for exactly this moment. A species that had watched countless civilizations rise and fall, building its strength in secret, waiting for the right time to emerge. The first response came 30 hours later, a single quantum pulse, encoded in mathematical patterns that spoke of technology far beyond Zeradani understanding. The message was brief. Signal received. Hold position. Salvation approaches. Zara had no way of knowing that in high orbit around a distant star called Sol, humanity's battle fleet was already moving. She couldn't know that the most feared species in the galaxy, the one that had chosen isolation not out of weakness, but out of terrible strength, had decided to finally reveal itself. All she knew was that someone had answered, and for the first time since the Void Hunters appeared, she felt something close to hope. She would soon learn that hope, like many things in the galaxy, was a double-edged sword. For in their desperation to escape one nightmare, the Zeradani had awakened another. The only difference was that this nightmare had chosen to be their guardian instead of their destroyer. Humanity was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Hidden Shield. Admiral Elena Santos stood in the heart of Olympus Command, Earth's primary military installation buried deep within Mars' Olympus Mons. The holographic display before her showed the Zeradani distress signal, its quantum-encoded message still echoing through subspace. "Show me the Void Hunters' attack pattern again," she ordered, her cybernetically enhanced eyes analyzing every detail of the footage. The AI complied, recreating the devastating assault on the Nix's colony in perfect clarity. "They're getting bolder," General Marcus Chen observed from his position at the strategy table. His carbon fiber prosthetic hand tapped a rhythmic pattern on the table's surface. "This is the third time they've struck this close to our observation posts." Santos nodded grimly. For 2 centuries, humanity had maintained a network of stealth platforms throughout the galaxy, watching, learning, and preparing. They had witnessed countless first contacts, trade agreements, and unfortunately, extinctions. The Void Hunters were simply the latest in a long line of predatory species they had monitored. "Project Guardian status?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. They had been ready for decades. "The fleet is at full strength," Chen reported. 150 ships, each carrying enough firepower to crack a small moon. The crews have been in rotating cryo-sleep for the past 20 years, training in simulated combat scenarios against every threat we've documented. Santos accessed her neural interface, reviewing the classified files that only a handful of humans had ever seen. After first contact 2 centuries ago, humanity had made a choice that had shaped their entire civilization. They had glimpsed the galaxy's true nature, a complex ecosystem where advanced civilizations rose and fell like waves on a cosmic ocean. "The Council is convening," her AI assistant announced. "They're expecting your recommendation in 5 minutes." The Council chamber materialized around her as she stepped onto the quantum transmission pad. Representatives from Earth's United Nations appeared as perfect holograms, their own enhanced senses allowing them to perceive each other as if they were physically present. "The Zeradeni situation has forced our hand," Santos began without preamble. "The Void Hunters will reach their homeworld in less than 60 cycles. 8 billion lives hang in the balance. We've broken observation protocols before," the European Union representative noted. "The Arcturus incident, the Proxima intervention." "This is different," Santos countered. "Those were surgical strikes, actions we could hide behind natural phenomena or technological accidents. What the Zeradeni need requires full military intervention. It means revealing ourselves to the galaxy." The Chinese representative's hologram leaned forward. "We've spent 2 centuries building our strength in secret. The Guardian Protocol was designed to protect humanity, not to protect humanity by protecting others," Santos finished. "That was always the intention. We didn't hide because we were weak. We hid because we knew that power without purpose becomes tyranny." She gestured, and a holographic display filled with images from their centuries of observation. Peaceful civilizations stripped of resources by corporate consortiums, artistic species enslaved by military empires, and always, in the background, predators like the Void Hunters, culling the galaxy's beauty one species at a time. "We've watched long enough," Santos declared. "The Zeradeni represent everything we hope to find in space, a species dedicated to peace, art, and discovery. If we let them fall, we're no better than the predators we spent centuries preparing to fight." The debate lasted longer than the Zeradeni's had, but the outcome was the same. Operation Guardian was authorized with full deployment of the hidden fleet. Within hours, ships began emerging from their secret bases throughout Sol system. In high orbit above Mars, Santos watched from the bridge of the TDS Prometheus as her fleet assembled. Unlike the crystalline elegance of Zeradeni ships or the organic horror of Void Hunter vessels, human warships were studies in controlled devastation. Each one was a perfect fusion of biological and mechanical engineering, powered by artificial singularities, and armed with weapons that bent physics itself. The crews were equally impressive. 2 centuries of careful genetic engineering and cybernetic enhancement had transformed humanity into something far more formidable than their ancient ancestors. Every officer and crew member was connected through neural networks that allowed them to function as single organisms when needed, their enhanced minds processing combat data at speeds that would have seemed godlike to their unmodified forebears. "All ships report ready," her XO announced, his own cybernetic systems interfacing seamlessly with the fleet's quantum network. Jump coordinates locked on the Zeradeni home system. Santos allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, building their strength and watching countless civilizations rise and fall. They had learned harsh lessons from their own bloody history and transformed themselves into something new. Not conquerors, but guardians. "Send one final message to command," she ordered. "The hidden fleet deploys to assist the Zeradeni civilization against hostile forces. The Guardian Protocol is now active." The quantum drive spooled up, reality preparing to bend around the fleet. Santos thought about the Zeradeni, about their art and their science, about their desperate plea into the void. They had no idea that their signal had reached the most feared species in known space, or that those feared beings had spent centuries preparing to be their saviors. "All ships, execute jump," Santos commanded. "Let's show the galaxy why we chose to hide our true nature for so long." 150 ships vanished into quantum space, carrying with them humanity's answer to a cry for help. The age of observation was over. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth had chosen to conceal its power, and why that concealment had been an act of mercy rather than fear. As the fleet traveled through quantum space, Santos accessed the detailed files on the Void Hunters. Their ships were impressive, their technology advanced, but they had never faced anything like what humanity had become. 2 centuries of paranoid preparation had produced weapons and defenses that would seem like magic to most species. The Void Hunters were about to learn why humans had been the monsters in their own stories for so long. The difference was, this time, humanity's nightmarish potential would serve a greater purpose. They would be the darkness that hunted other darkness, the monsters that protected the innocent from true evil. The galaxy was about to change forever, and Alina Santos would be the one to pull back the curtain on humanity's true nature. She only hoped the Zeradeni would understand that sometimes salvation came in forms just as terrifying as destruction. When darkness meets darkness, reality twisted as the hidden fleet emerged from quantum space. Admiral Santos' enhanced senses immediately processed the tactical situation. The Void Hunters had already begun their approach to Meridia Station, their black ships spreading across space like an oil slick across clear water. 23 capital ships confirmed, her tactical officer reported through the neural network. Approximately 80 support vessels. They haven't detected us yet. The Void Hunters continued their advance, unaware that death approached on silent wings. Human stealth technology, perfected through centuries of paranoid preparation, rendered their fleet virtually invisible to conventional sensors. "Deploy the quantum mesh," Santos ordered. "Lock down their FTL capabilities first. Then target their command ships. Execute on my mark." Throughout the fleet, weapon systems powered up. Unlike the organic weapons of the Void Hunters or the elegant energy beams of the Zeradani, human weapons were manifestations of controlled physics violations. Each ship carried enough firepower to shatter a small moon, all of it hidden behind stealth systems that bent light and probability itself. Quantum mesh deployed. Her XO confirmed. They're locked in. Santos opened a channel to the fleet through their neural network. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten those under our protection." The first shots were fired without warning. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through the Void Hunters' defensive screens as if they didn't exist. The living metal of their hulls tried to adapt, to heal, but the weapons had been specifically designed to disrupt such systems. 3 Hunter capital ships died in the first salvo, their forms twisting as contained singularities tore them apart from within. Inside Meridia Station, First Observer Zira watched in awe as her people's tormentors died in waves of silent fire. Their sensors could barely track the human ships, which appeared as little more than shadows against the stars, but they could see the results clearly enough as Void Hunter vessels died in ways that defied their understanding of physics. The Hunters reacted with surprising speed, their ships turning to face the threat they couldn't properly detect. Their weapons, beams of corrupted energy that could dissolve normal matter, lashed out at the human fleet. But the humans weren't fighting like any enemy they'd encountered before. The hidden fleet moved like a school of predatory fish, each ship knowing exactly where every other would be. When Void Hunter weapons found their mark, they struck only empty space or shields that absorbed the energy and redirected it back as weapons. "They're attempting to adapt," her tactical officer reported. "Their living metal is reconfiguring to match our weapon frequencies. Then let's give them something new to adapt to," Santos ordered. "All ships execute Pattern Hydra." The human fleet split into smaller attack groups, each targeting a different hunter vessel with a different weapons configuration. Quantum missiles from one group, gravitational shear beams from another, temporal disruption fields from a third. The hunters couldn't adapt to everything at once. A massive hunter vessel, easily twice the size of Santos's flagship, managed to score a direct hit on one of the human ships. The beam of corrupted energy should have dissolved the vessel into its component atoms. Instead, the human ship's quantum shields flared, absorbing the energy and channeling it through its weapons array. The returning fire struck with the hunter's own energy, plus the power of human weapons, shattering the massive ship into fragments of dying living metal. Multiple hunter ships attempting to retreat, Tactical reported. They're trying to break through the quantum mesh. Not happening, Santos said firmly. Activate the gravity wells. Show them what happens when you corner a species that evolved as pursuit predators. The human fleet had seeded the battlefield with gravity manipulation devices, creating a web of artificial gravity wells that made escape impossible. The remaining hunter ships found themselves trapped, their sophisticated drives unable to break free. Santos opened a broadcast channel on all frequencies, allowing both the hunters and the watching Zeridani to hear. This is Admiral Elena Santos of the Hidden Fleet. You attacked a peaceful civilization, believing them defenseless. You were wrong. We have watched your kind for centuries, preparing for this moment. Surrender now, or learn why humanity chose to hide its true nature from the galaxy. The response came in the form of concentrated fire from the remaining hunter vessels. Santos hadn't expected anything else. The Void Hunters had never shown mercy. They wouldn't expect it in return. All ships, she commanded through the neural net. Execute final protocol. Show them why humans were the monsters in their own nightmares for so long. The Hidden Fleet moved as one. Their enhanced crews linked through quantum networks, their ships dancing through space in patterns that spoke of centuries of preparation. They had trained for this moment for generations, preparing to be the shield that protected the galaxy's light from its darkness. From Meridia Station, Zara watched as her people's saviors revealed themselves to be every bit as terrifying as their destroyers. But where the Void Hunters brought only death, these humans fought with purpose, their devastating power wielded with surgical precision to protect rather than simply destroy. The battle would be remembered in Zeridani history as the day of shadow and light, when one darkness devoured another to protect the innocent. It would mark the beginning of a new age in galactic history, when humanity finally stepped from the shadows to take its place as the galaxy's hidden guardians. But that was for later. For now, there was only the dance of death between two species that had mastered the art of destruction, and the hope that when the darkness cleared, something better would emerge from the ashes of this terrible revelation. The nature of humanity. The Void Hunters' progenitor-class command ship shuddered as another quantum torpedo phased through its adaptive shields. In the Neural Command Center, Hunt Commander Vex Terra watched through multiple sensory inputs as humanity's true nature revealed itself. Analysis complete, the ship's biological computer reported through their shared consciousness. Human weapons operate on principles we've never encountered. They're not just breaking physics, they're rewriting it. The battle had raged for hours, but it felt like moments to the hunters' enhanced perception. 3/4 of their fleet lay in ruins, their supposedly invincible living metal torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist. The humans weren't just fighting. They were systematically dismantling everything the hunters believed about their own superiority. Show me their pattern recognition, Vex Terra commanded. The neural display exploded with data, revealing the horrifying truth. The humans weren't just winning. They were learning, adapting, improving their tactics with each passing moment. Their neural networks processed combat data faster than the hunters' biological computers, turning each engagement into a lesson in warfare. Admiral Santos watched the hunter command ship's desperate attempts to break free from the quantum mesh. Her enhanced mind processed combat data through the fleet's shared consciousness, directing the battle like a conductor leading a deadly symphony. They're attempting to merge their remaining ships, her tactical officer reported. Biomass consolidation on a scale we've never seen. Let them, Santos ordered. Show me what they're planning. The surviving hunter vessels drew together, their living metal flowing and combining into a single massive entity. It was a desperate gambit, sacrificing numbers for raw power. The resulting vessel was larger than anything humanity had encountered in their centuries of observation. All ships, execute Protocol Omega, Santos commanded through the neural net. Show them why we spent centuries preparing for this moment. The hidden fleet moved with perfect synchronization, their enhanced crews linked through quantum networks that made them function as a single organism. They had trained for this scenario, practiced it in countless simulations. The hunters were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their ability to work together in ways that transcended individual limitations. Within Meridia Station, First Observer Zero watched with a mixture of awe and terror as the battle unfolded. The hunters' combined form was a nightmare of living metal and corrupted energy, but the humans moved around it with practiced precision, their ships dancing through space in patterns that spoke of centuries of preparation. "They're not just fighting," she whispered to her assistant Kren. "They're executing a plan that's generations old." The human fleet split into precise formations, each group targeting specific points on the hunters' combined form. Their weapons fired in perfectly timed sequences, creating cascading failures in the living metal's adaptive capabilities. It was like watching a surgeon dissect a patient, every cut calculated and precise. "They're magnificent," Kren breathed. "And terrifying." That's why they hid, Zyra realized. Not because they were weak, but because they knew what their presence would do to the galaxy's balance of power. The hunters' combined form lashed out with weapons that could have shattered planets, but the humans had prepared for even this. Their quantum shields absorbed the energy, their ship's artificial singularities processing and redirecting it in ways that defied conventional physics. In the Neural Command Center, Vexterra finally understood why humanity had remained hidden for so long. They hadn't been afraid of species like the hunters. They had been afraid of themselves, of what they would become if they emerged too soon. "Full power to the dimensional drive," Vexterra ordered. "Tear a hole in spacetime itself. We'll escape to another reality if we have to." But the humans had prepared for this too. As the hunters' dimensional drive began to power up, the hidden fleet executed their final protocol. Quantum torpedoes struck precise points in spacetime, creating a web of localized reality anchors that made dimensional travel impossible. "You don't understand," Santos broadcast on all frequencies. "We've spent centuries studying species like you, every trick, every desperate gambit, every possible scenario. We didn't hide because we were weak. We hid because we knew that power without wisdom becomes tyranny." The final battle was swift and decisive. The hunters' combined form, for all its power, couldn't adapt to attacks it couldn't predict or understand. Human weapons tore through its defenses, their enhanced crews working in perfect synchronization to dismantle the threat piece by piece. When it was over, the scattered remains of the hunter fleet drifted in space like a grim morning. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy not as conquerors or saviors, but as something far more complex, a species that had mastered the art of war precisely so they would know when not to use it. The Zeridani watched in stunned silence as their guardians proved to be every bit as nightmarish as their destroyers. But where the hunters had brought only death, humanity had fought with purpose, their devastating power wielded with surgical precision to protect rather than simply destroy. The age of humanity's hiding was over, but the galaxy was about to learn that their emergence might be both salvation and terror combined. For in defending the innocent, humanity had revealed themselves to be the monsters that hunted other monsters, the darkness that consumed darkness itself. A new dawn. 1 month after the Battle of Meridia Station, First Observer Zero stood before the newly formed Galactic Council. The chamber, hastily constructed within a neutral space station, housed representatives from 30 spacefaring civilizations. All had come to witness humanity's formal emergence from isolation. Admiral Santos stood at the center of the chamber, her enhanced form a stark contrast to the varied alien species around her. The neural interfaces beneath her skin pulsed with subtle light, a reminder of how far humanity had evolved from their original form. For 2 centuries, Santos began. Humanity watched from the shadows. We saw civilizations rise and fall. We witnessed beauty and horror in equal measure. And we prepared. The holographic display showed footage from humanity's hidden archives, centuries of observation, intervention, and protection, all conducted in absolute secrecy. The Void Hunters were not the first predatory species we encountered, Santos continued. They were simply the ones that forced our hand. We had hoped to remain hidden longer, to perfect our role as silent guardians. But the galaxy had other plans. Zyra stepped forward, her scales shifting to the deep blue of formal ceremony. The Zeridani people owe humanity our existence, but we also understand now why they chose to hide their true nature. Power such as theirs, it changes everything. The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices, each species grappling with the implications of humanity's revelation. The Hidden Fleet had not just defeated the Void Hunters. They had shattered everything the galaxy thought it knew about technological limitations and military capability. We did not hide out of fear, Santos explained, her enhanced voice carrying without effort. We hid because we understood what premature exposure to our level of technology would do to galactic society. We needed time to learn how to be guardians rather than conquerors. The evidence was undeniable. Humanity's quantum mesh technology alone had rewritten the rules of space combat. Their neural network interfaces and enhanced biology represented evolutionary advances that most species hadn't even theorized possible. But now that you have revealed yourselves, a Centaurian representative asked, their crystalline form vibrating with concern. What happens next? Santos gestured, and the holographic display showed a new image. The Guardian Protocol in its entirety. We offer protection, not dominion. Knowledge, not subjugation. We have established outposts throughout the galaxy, ready to respond to any threat. But we will not interfere with the natural development of your civilizations, unless that development threatens others, Zyra added, understanding now the delicate balance humanity had struck. The debate lasted for days. Some species welcomed humanity's emergence, seeing them as protectors against threats like the Void Hunters. Others feared them, recognizing in their power the potential for absolute dominion. But all understood that the galaxy had changed forever. In the end, a new accord was struck. Humanity would maintain their role as guardians, their hidden fleet patrolling the dark spaces between stars. But they would also share some of their knowledge, carefully and gradually, helping other species defend themselves. We chose to become monsters, Santos explained in the final session, so that we could hunt the real monsters. But we never forgot our humanity. That's why we hid, not to protect ourselves, but to protect you from what exposure to our power might do to your societies. As the council dispersed, Zyra found herself alone with Santos in an observation dome, watching the stars they had both fought to protect. Your people still fear us, Santos said quietly. Yes, Zyra admitted, her scales shifting to thoughtful purple. But we also understand you better now. You could have conquered us all centuries ago. Instead, you chose to watch, to protect, to guide from the shadows. And now those shadows are gone, Santos mused. The galaxy will never be the same. Perhaps that's not a bad thing, Zyra suggested. The Void Hunters showed us one path of evolution, the path of predation and consumption. But humanity, you showed us another way, the path of protection, of using power not because you can, but because you must. As they spoke, reports came in from across the galaxy. Other predatory species, learning of the Void Hunters' fate, were retreating to their territories. Peaceful civilizations, emboldened by humanity's protection, were reaching out to each other, forming new alliances. The age of humanity's hiding was over, but it had been replaced by something new. An age where the monsters that lurked in the dark had monsters of their own to fear. Humanity had emerged not as conquerors or saviors, But as guardians, their terrible power held in check by the wisdom earned through centuries of patient observation. The galaxy would never be the same. But perhaps, Zyra thought as she watched Santos return to her fleet, that had been humanity's plan all along. They had waited in the shadows not just to protect others, but to protect themselves from what they might become if they emerged too soon. The stars seemed different now, knowing what lurked among them. But they also seemed safer, guarded by a species that had chosen to become terrible so that others wouldn't have to. The silent guardians had finally spoken, and the galaxy would forever echo with their revelation.